Okay, so we're going to look at John Mackey's or J.L. Mackey's argument from relativity today. Now, the key idea for Mackey is that relativity or disagreement in ethics, so disagreement between different cultures or peoples on kind of what is right and wrong, leads to a conclusion that there can be no objective morality. No objective morality. Or, in other words, anti-realism. So, anti-realism, remember, is this term over here, which means that there are no moral facts. That's the kind of claim of J.L. Mackie and many others, and we're going to look at one of his kind of two arguments for this today, which is his argument from relativity, which can be found in Morality, Inventing Right and Wrong. So premise one, sorry about everything that's just appeared on the screen, I know that that's a lot. Let me just actually quickly talk you through this. Over here we're going to go through kind of the main reasons for the premises, and over here we're going to have a summary of the premises as we go along, and the conclusion too. Remember, premise is just a stage in an argument. So premise one, or stage one, is that there is variation in moral beliefs. This is what we call relativity. The idea that there is disagreement. So you might have two people like this. One person who says, oh, charity is good, and the other person says, oh, no, charity is bad. Yes, those people do exist. So there we have a disagreement, a genuine disagreement in what they think is right and wrong. Mackie noted, though, that when we kind of ask people for their justifications don't tend to be about facts. There's not really a reasoned argument there. There's rather just a kind of restatement. So you ask, the guy who says charity is good or the person who says charity is bad, what's your reason? And they might say, well, because ultimately charity is good, or, because charity is bad. Now, obviously they may not say it in exactly those words. They may say something like, well, because helping those less fortunate than ourselves is a good thing, but helping those less fortunate than ourselves is charity, right? It's the same thing. Mackie says, look, there's no real way to kind of resolve these two things. There's no way to resolve that argument. That is an irresolvable argument. As he says here, he says, something about those things arouses certain responses immediately in them. That's these responses here, okay, that are aroused immediately in them, so come up immediately in them. Though they would arouse radically and irresolvably different responses in others. Now, the word irresolvably here is really important, okay? It is irresolvable. Irresolvable means, well, can't be solved, okay? So we can't persuade someone who has a different view in ethics from us with reasoned argument. They just have a different view, says Mackie. It is an irresolvable disagreement. Now, what does that have to do with meta-ethics? Well, that's where premise 2 comes in. He says, look, if there is this kind of fundamental disagreement, then really, if we have two answers, anti-realism or realism, realism, remember, being that belief that there are moral facts. Well, he says, well, anti-realism is a better explanation. And to understand why that's the case, I just want to compare two different things to show you. Let's look at two completely non-moral things. One is taste and the other is science. So in a matter of taste, what we have are two people who disagree about, say, which flavour ice cream is better, or whatever. Whereas in science, they might disagree about the specific interpretation of quantum mechanics, or whatever, right? So there's two different disagreements going on here. Now, we solve this disagreement over here in no way whatsoever, because those disagreements are incompatible. Yes, you like, I don't know, vanilla ice cream, and I like chocolate ice cream. There's no way to agree. You can't persuade me that chocolate ice cream is worse than vanilla ice cream, and I can't persuade you that my ice cream is better than yours. They just are different tastes. There's nothing there apart from our opinions. Whereas in science, where there are facts, as opposed to in taste, where there are no facts, taste is essentially an anti-realist view, right? There aren't any facts in the realm of taste, whereas in the realm of science, which is realist in nature, because it's to do with an empirical understanding of the world, we can solve this disagreement through experimentation, observation, and calculation, putting it into a big computer and working out the outcome. And then at the end, these two people are very happy because they've come to a conclusion through extra information. So what he's saying here is that kind of if there is kind of irresolvable disagreement, so if the disagreement can't be resolved, there can't really be moral facts to resolve it, because otherwise it would be resolvable, like in science. Okay, so it sounds a lot more like the taste option than it does the science option. In other words, it's morality must be anti-realist. And that is his conclusion. Meta-ethical anti-realism must be true. So just to sum up, what he says is there is irresolvable disagreement in moral beliefs. Okay, so there are things that we just disagree on and you can't possibly resolve them. And if moral disagreement is irresolvable, anti-realism is a better explanation, because it looks a lot more like this, that it's just based in our heads, than that there is some fact in the world that can solve it. So meta-ethical anti-realism is the better explanation. That is better than realism. That is Mackie's argument from Relativity.